lived in the Polish neighborhood, and he was driving down 42. 42 was the Pearl Road, was the way that people went. It was before 71, right? So he was driving down Pearl Road, and he saw this. It was in the winter on his way to school, and he saw this tract of land that was for sale in Strongsville, and it looked intriguing to him. So he decided to see what he could do by acquiring it. And so in 1949, he scraped together, his money, and he bought 16 acres of, turned out to be a swampy, brambles, a real messy lot of old farmland, probably used and abused, and it was clay soil, and it was every gardener's nightmare, And he has aspirations because he's so passionate about making his mark and, making a living with the horticulture. So anyways, he bought the 16 acres, graduated in the 2 years, and so he started planting crab apples. Hundreds of crab apples. I don't know where he acquired them, but he turned this whole swamp. First of all, how do you clear out all the brambles and all the junk to access decent soil? Well, crab apples do grow pretty well, so that's how he started. And it evolved from a nursery, crab apple nursery, and I should say with all these hundreds of crab apples, he was looking for anomalies. And in horticultural terms, they're called sports. And so he was looking for these anomalies, and so he would cultivate the anomaly, and then he was able to create a strain of crab apple from that. And because he was so good at discovering the odd plant and cultivating them and putting his love and attention, he was able to patent these plants, so it gave him a little more money to work with. But I think that his master, in his mind, he was so passionate about turning this plot of land into like gardens like he had envisioned and had seen in Europe. He fell in love with English cottage gardens, which was kind of I know it's not politically correct today, but it's the effect of the British Empire, the colonials. They went all over the world, and they would take plants from here and there, and they'd bring them back on the ships, and then they'd pop them into the gardens, and inside the English gardens they also had vegetables growing and all sorts of stuff. So it was a real hodgepodge garden situation, which appealed to Henry a whole lot. So yeah, so here John's envisioning these beautiful gardens and trying to make a living at the same time. Well, making a living, he was also working in Shaker Heights as a florist, and did pretty well. So able to subsidize, buy more plants for Gardenview, pop them in. Hi. He I guess he started questioning the path he was on, and so in 1961 he decided it was probably what he wanted to do was he wanted to turn it over to the public. And so from 1949 to 61 it was in the kind of like development. 1961 turned it over to the public. In 1964 it became a nonprofit. And this is an interesting thing, is Gardenview is a nonprofit that he gave to the public. It was just, he gave it to the public, which is kind of weird, because here is a piece of, I mean, today it sits as a 16-acre piece of property in Strongsville, Ohio. It's like prime real estate. And it's, at this point, as long as the nonprofit organization exists, which is Gardenview Horticultural Park, and the members that support it, it's membership funded. I mean, we get very, very few grants because we compete in Cuyahoga County with the Botanical Society and Cleveland Metro Parks and all these other ones, and they usually get most of the grant money. So the members have supported Gardenview over the years, and it's wonderful. And but at the same time, you have to remember, I mean, it's our park. I mean, and as long as we care enough about Gardenview and love it and nurture it, take care of it, it'll be around for us. And if we don't, who knows what will happen? I mean, I have laid awake at nights trying to determine what will happen when the old guard of Gardenview, I consider myself old guard. I'm a trustee. My husband's a trustee. And pretty much most people in the baby boom era have been kind of doing the volunteer work. So what we've been doing recently is we've been trying to cast the net out to other generations, you know, the younger ones. Come on, I mean, this is the most amazing park you can imagine because you're free to play there, you know, in a lot of ways. As a park, it's just a treasure. Henry's been gone 11 years, but what he created is visible if you start looking deep. And you know, to lose Henry 11 years ago was a really difficult thing for Gardenview, because there will never be another man like Henry Ross that will be able to do everything he did. He built the house that he lived in. He dug the canals out that irrigated Gardenview. He went around the streets and picked up pieces of concrete, you know, that they were tearing up to recycle. And he utilized all these remnants and built beautiful walls for the canals, and he hand dug a pond. There are two large ponds at Gardenview, and one of them was hand dug by Henry. It's hard to fathom someone's passion, but he put all his love and effort into 24/7 for, oh God, probably 65, 70 years. Even up at the, you know, I mean, I know I'm jumping around a whole lot, but it's such a vast subject to talk about. He fell in love with rare and unusual plants. So the gardens today are loaded with rare and unusual trees, plants. And you have to walk around and look and it's like a real lesson in being very, very observant. And all of a sudden you'll take a peek and there will be a variegated ginkgo tree, you know, or a variegated maple, or something that is not supposed to grow in Ohio, that it defies explanation. And that's what's so wonderful about Gardenview. It exists behind these gray walls, okay? And I think that a lot of people have hesitated about going into Gardenview because it's got a gate, it's got a lock, it's got the walls, but it was what Henry wanted, for one thing. He was somewhat of a recluse. In the latter couple decades of his life, he liked being by himself a whole lot. When people came by that had genuine interest and love in plants, oh, he was more than happy to walk around and share his passion. But generally, he liked his privacy. He liked the quiet. He liked the walls. He felt that the walls were part of the magic of gardens, like a secret garden kind of thing. So it was good. Originally, there was redwood fence. The fence deteriorated and needed replacing, and so one of the last things that Henry had done was he decided to get a recycled fence like that. It's some kind of plastic, and it looks like gray stone, but he felt it would be cost effective to protect Gardenview's funds, and minimize the cost that would be going out on things that weren't plants, So he was always thinking about the well-being of Gardenview. Even like, what will happen after he leaves, and he was hoping that his life and his work would inspire enough people to turn away from the consumerism that was kind of like around Gardenview. If you're like in 1949 when he bought the property, it was farmland. But over the decades, being on Route 42 Pearl Road, these strip malls would come along and developments and marks and everything. I mean, the whole of Strongsville just developed around him, and it just probably was just ghastly. So he got more and more vocal about there's another way to live. We have choices, and we don't have to be consumers all the time. Be creators, don't be consumers. And Gardenview was Henry's palette. He was an artist in many ways, but he just took this piece of property, this L-shaped 16-acre piece of property, and painted a picture on it, interlocking gardens that fit together like puzzle pieces, and ponds and garden structures he put up, and some of them are falling apart. He built greenhouses to maintain the tropical plants that he would spread out during the summer months. And I don't know, it's just such an amazing thing to walk around and realize that this one person did this for the most part, put it all together and put it together to the point where it became world class, where Horticultural Magazine, for its 50th year anniversary, Horticulture Magazine declared Gardenview one of the 10 most inspiring gardens in the country. And in Home and Garden Television, when it first was Home and Garden Television, sent out this woman. She was a gardening lady, and they did a half-hour special on Gardenview. I think it's on our website, which is gardenviewhp.org. Some of those old videos of Henry too, are priceless, because he was cantankerous. He was nobody's fool. He was a genius in so many ways. He left us this treasure. I don't know what the time is, so I don't know.
Almost 6:30.
Okay, does anybody have questions about Gardenview?
Is it open to like, the Strongsville schools for visitation, for education, and like to get the younger people interested to take it
Yeah,
for
it
us?
could be. I mean, it's possible.
Maybe organize a field trip.
Huh? Yeah.
Because that seems to be an issue with a lot of our arts groups that we're in, like I was in 52, and it's like, okay, I don't feel like running this stuff anymore. Let the young people do
Right.
this, but you have to get them in and they do
Lead them.
things differently.
Right.
So that would be great to start, because I know young parents, a lot of young parents that live in Strongsville, and they're in the school system,
Right.
homeschooling. Maybe get them kind of.
They, we've had the Eagle Scouts come out, and the master gardeners, and there are people like garden clubs around the area are well aware, but there is a real need. I mean, one of the things that's really difficult is that we need volunteers badly. Right, and also there's gonna be a call for someone that will be maintaining the gardens, because the man who's there right now, Jimmy, is wonderful, and knew Henry well, and knows the philosophy about the feeling of Gardenview, the spirit of it, and he wants to, he's in his 50s, so, and his body's kind of like wearing out, so it's like, I really need to find, a younger guy that will take over, so we're always kind of looking for someone that will help carry it on, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do when you're funded by members. So you can see kind of like what our problem, it's not a problem, but what we deal with as a small horticultural park is we want to build community, of course, and Sarah has been wonderful in offering, we're collaborating. Nancy Bradman, who's made a lot of these wonderful paintings, has been to Gardenview so many times and came up with the idea of, how perfect it would be to do something like this. So stretching out and building community is really important. I think, accessing high school groups would be perfect. Grade school, kids like to, we had a scavenger hunt there. We want to also start introducing gardening classes, ikebana classes, art classes in the cottage, small things. Lots to think about, but we do, there is a call out there for people that actually really want to come help and play there, come play at Gardenview. This is fun. I mean,